What's not surprising? How much money Nathan saved by switching to Geico.
Here in Littlejohn Coliseum, it's ACC women's basketball. Today, the Miami Hurricanes are in to visit the Clemson Tigers. Hi, everybody, with Jim Davis, Pete Hannity with you. A battle today, Jim, between a couple of teams trying to find their way in the ACC and trying to do a better job taking care of the basketball.
Well, you have to value every possession. You can't beat yourself. Taking care of the basketball, getting a shot at the basket is very important.
These teams average close to 20 turnovers per game each. Let's focus in on a couple of the key players. First off, on the Miami side, a fifth-year senior, Shanice Bailey, is a wing player for them, and she's combined for 20 points in her past 2 games.
You know, Coach Katie Meyer says simply she's one of the best athletes I've ever coached, Pete.
Meanwhile, for the Tigers, the glue for the Clemson team has been junior Danielle Edwards from just outside of Baltimore, and she's combined for 8 assists over the past 2 ball games.
She does so much for this basketball team. The assists, the steals, one of the league leaders in steals, but she's got a heart as big as Littlejohn. Last game she took 3 charges. That's huge.
So a couple of teams, as we said, trying to get some traction in ACC play, meeting for the lone time this season. Miami leads the all-time series 10-6. They've won 7 out of 8, and 3 in a row are underway on a Sunday afternoon in Littlejohn Coliseum. Miami guided by one of the successful coaches in the ACC, Katie Meyer, now in her 13th season at the helm. You see the 242 wins, and she's second all-time in the Miami women's program in victories, about 70 wins or so away from becoming the all-time leader. And the drive inside, they're going to say it's off the leg of Shanice Bailey. It'll go the other way. Clemson Tigers guided by Audra Smith. She now faces Miami for a 5th time. She's 1-3, having picked up a win in her first matchup against the Canes. And she has seen a Tiger team that was much improved in non-conference play. So Alexander's first personal is the first on the Tigers. Davenport out high, giving over to India Banks, one of 4 freshmen who really contribute quite a bit to this Miami team. There's another one of them, their leading scorer, Micaiah Gray. Can't get it that time. Here's Bailey off the offensive rebound. And back in front go the Canes. Quarter of play.
Little 1-3-1 half-court trap. Now they fall back into, looks like a man-to-man probably, out of their 1-3-1.
Alexander across the lane. And it's taken off the floor by India Banks. She will lead the break for the Canes and finish herself. And India Banks puts Miami back up by 4. She's a freshman, also from the Atlanta area, like they've got some others on this team. She comes from Duluth, Georgia. There's a drive to the basket by Kiki Harris, and she lays it up and in. A senior from down in Riviera Beach, Florida, and Miami builds its biggest lead so far to 6. The Tigers trying to end a nearly 5.5-minute drought without a field goal. Baseline drive, Carter the feed, Atkinson the finish, and that'll get him off the side right there. Ivy Atkinson, her first field goal of the ball game. For the senior post player.
It's kind of like baseball, Pete. The strength of a baseball team defensively is down the middle. The same is true for that 1-3-1 zone.
Kelsey Marshall answering with a trade. She's just a 26% three-point shooter. And again, 2 teams that are averaging in the mid to low 20s from three-point range. And for Danielle Edwards, that'll be her first Thornton baseline jumper, and she rattles it home. Tigers pull back with an 8. But in any case, Clemson 0-4 in the league, Miami 1-3. But the Kings have just kind of had a weird run. They lost a home game to Wake Forest. They thought they should have won. Tigers have had a very good schedule so far. And that one's going to go down. A little short jumper made by the freshman Taylor Mason, who checked in moments ago.
Yeah, their first ACC win, Pete, was against a top 15 ranked Duke team.
Yeah. Tigers playing their first home game since back on January 4th, and they fell to that top 20 FSU team. Atkinson didn't look like she was expecting to get the ball. Here comes Marshall on the run out. Pretty feed, pretty finish by Erica Davenport. And Davenport, who a year ago had 10 against the Tigers, here in the opening quarter has put together some nice numbers so far. She has 7 points, and that leads all scorers. Oh, and that time an unforced error, and Gray losing it out of bounds, so another turnover by the Canes. And we've got an official timeout on the court. Francesca Tagliapietra trying to keep her and the Tigers in this game. They trail by 7. She could end up with her career high in her very first game, and that could hold her entire career.
It's all downhill from there, Pete.
And Edwards with a friendly bounce is filling it from long range. 2 quick threes for the Tiger junior guard. And Clemson back within a 5-point deficit. 8 seconds to go. Plenty of time for Clemson. Carter has the opportunity to her left, but instead will go out high, and the Tigers unable to get off a final shot, at least one that would have counted. So Clemson was down by double figures at the end of one. They're able to reduce their deficit to 7 points as we head to halftime here in Littlejohn Coliseum for each of these teams. It is ACC game number 5 on the year. And, well, let's face it, the Tigers in the early going, some issues scoring. Miami pretty consistent in both quarters, but this game I think will be decided in close to the basket.
Points in the paint will be what decides this basketball game. You're right.
Clemson 2-7 trailing at the half this year. Miami 8-0 when leading at the break. And we're back with halftime after this. Seven-point lead for Miami. You know when a hula hoop over there on the left-hand side of your screen makes an appearance that those kids are about to have some fun. Here at the break in Littlejohn Coliseum, and along with Jim Davis, Pete Hannity back with you. Well, turnovers have been one of our themes in talking about this game. Miami leads by 7 here at the half. They lead by 7 in points off turnovers, so the numbers do indeed tell a story.
They do, and the result, there's a difference in turning it over and turning it over a team that converts it into points. And Miami is converting their turnovers that they get, that they force, into points. Clemson's got to do a better job taking care of the basketball.
And we noted for a 4th straight game now, the Tigers without Aaliyah Collier, who's out with an injury. And I think that is a big, big factor for this Clemson team, especially when you talk about points in the paint, because she's such an aggressive player down low on both ends.
Yeah, Aaliyah and then Nellie Perry's been out for the entire year. It's unfortunate. This team just can't seem to catch a break. And that's 24 points right there. That Clemson needs in the scoring column.
And each of these coaches could probably tell a similar story to each other, because Miami is a team that throughout the season has been beset with some key injuries in a year when their depth, like Clemson's, wasn't such that they could afford those kinds of injuries. Well, let's take a look at our numbers so far through the first 20 minutes of this ball game. And you see field goal's a big story, but again, points in the paint, that is big for a Miami team that's got some folks inside who really can score well close to the basket.
Yeah, and Hoff has played, she's got 8 points, and she's played a lot of minutes. Erica Davenport actually got in foul trouble and only played 10 minutes in the first half. So, but when she's in the game, that gives them a pretty good 1-2 punch in the paint.
And a Miami team that's showing real good depth off the bench. 16 of their points have been scored off the bench. But again, we talk about points in the paint, and that's what Miami does. They came into this ball game today at nearly 13 points better than their opponents in baskets scored down low. So at the break, we have yet to see what those kids are going to do with the hula hoops, but we do know that Miami has a 7-point lead.
We make
7-point lead at the half, going for a 4th straight win against Clemson. Lone meeting of the regular season with these teams. So there are the kids. There's the hula hoop. There's also been a basketball and J-Do involved with our halftime fun. So it's all starting to make sense as we welcome you back with Jim Davis, Pete Hannity with you here in Littlejohn Coliseum. And of course, Sundays are always busy in women's college basketball, particularly around the ACC. Let's take a look at some other action going on around the league. And North Carolina coming off a win against Clemson the other night at Carmichael, and then they go down Tobacco Road and get themselves a big win at Wake Forest today. As Sylvia Hatchell's trying to get her program back to where it was. Number 2, Notre Dame. They look like a Final Four team again this year. Decisive win against Boston College. And Syracuse playing at NC State. Pittsburgh at home against Georgia Tech. Florida State, another team that might have a Final Four pedigree. Sue Semrau and company have already enjoyed wins against both Miami and Clemson so far. And coming up later on, Virginia at number 16, Duke. So the standings so far, and again, both Miami and Clemson trying to kind of get some momentum going here in the early going. They line up on the right side, but at the top, some really elite teams from a national standpoint.
Yeah, Louisville just drubbed Notre Dame. Notre Dame this week. A drubbing. And Notre Dame was ranked second in the country. I'm sure they're going to drop some, but Louisville looked really, really good, led by Asia Dore. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, is winless in the league, but they're up by 10 at halftime, so they may get their first win of the year, and we're hoping Clemson can come back from this 7-point halftime deficit and get their first win.
Those top 4 teams, though, Louisville, Virginia, Notre Dame, and Florida State, I think they can go deep into late March and early April. More to come at the break, so you're having fun with your friends, you're making your hoops, and you're celebrating too. Here at halftime at Little John Coliseum, 37-30, the Miami Hurricanes up on the Clemson Tigers. The second quarter, Clemson can hang its hat on the fact that they outscored Miami 4-0 in second chance points. Miami had a 5-1 advantage in the opening quarter, but for the most part, it was a story of Miami scoring close into the basket. Take a look at the opening half highlights, and first off for the Canes, and again, it wasn't just their post player scoring down low, but the scoring began with Amasa Hoff knocking down that jumper. You see her affecting things inside.
Yeah, no question about the fact that their guards are penetrating Clemson's defense, and they're a great score over the outstretched hands of Kobe Thornton.
And a scrappy Miami team that forces nearly 22 turnovers a game. They're in the top 20 in the nation. There's Erica Davenport finishing on that break. Her 7 points leading Miami, and they did a nice job quickly converting on Clemson turnovers. Hoff inside, you saw her score the jumper. She gets the bucket there, and she already has 8 rebounds, which is well above her season average of 5.6 a game. And neither team is going to set the world on fire from three-point range, but that one went down for Marshall. As for the Tigers, they picked up the pace after trailing by as many as 12 in the opening quarter. Second quarter, they got things going a little bit, outscored the Canes 18-14. Pretty feed right there from Carter to Alexander, and Kobe Thornton doing nice work. She leads all scorers with 9 points and 4 rebounds.
Kobe is a very good free throw shooter, not a jump shooter rather. Straight up, straight down. That's great form right there. She got there's another jump shot. When she shoots on balance, she's pretty accurate, and then she gets the lob against the 1-3-1, the diagonal pass up high, which is a great way to attack that 1-3-1 zone, and got the easy layup there. So she leads Clemson scoring with 9.
Tigers trying for just their 3rd win this season in 10 ball games in which they've trailed at the break. Our 3rd quarter of action is just ahead. That high it goes, and Gray will restore order.
I always told my players on the offensive end, just keep it alive. If you can't get it, just keep it alive.
Nothing but net that time for Micaiah Gray as she drains the three-pointer. Canes are now 3 out of 8, and Gray 2 out of 3. Those 13 points for Thornton, leading all scorers. Marshall from downtown, she drains the tray. India Banks halfway down the lane, little teardrop on it.
You can't let her get that deep. That is.
The Miami Hurricanes will get win number 12 on the year. They'll improve to 12-6 and 2-3 in the league. Clemson falls to 10-8 and 0-5 in conference play. See the coaches shake at midcourt, and Miami Hurricanes end up with a 72-60 victory.
Well, I just thought that Marshall was the difference in the basketball game in terms of individuals, her producing more points than what she normally does. Clemson, once again, gave up too many offensive rebounds and putbacks.
Canes now try to get a winning streak going at home Thursday night against Syracuse. Tigers try to snap their skid Thursday at home against Boston College. On behalf of Jim Davis and our fine crew, Pete Hannity saying so long from here in Little John. Canes a 12-point win. This has been a presentation of ESPN.